Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Weird World Podcast.
Hi, Dean.
What? You know, I'm a little under the weather.
You were a little bit growly there.
I'm Dean.
I'm Carrie.
Carrie, the mean person you should add to that? Carrie the mean. That would have been your royal name as a queen. So, Carrie is going to haunt us with a scary story that involves, I'm going to guess, ghost?
No.
Monsters.
By some people.
I'm going to say no then. Supernatural legends.
Yeah. You know, like how the true stories behind all the horror movies, like The Conjuring and your favorite people, the Warrens.
The Warrens.
Those kinds of horror movies. We're going to talk about the true story behind
what?
A 1992 horror movie. I dare you, Dean, right now, we'll pause the podcast to go into the bathroom and say, Candyman, 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 Candyman.
I have to say it 5 times?
You have to say it 5 times.
5 times.
While looking into the bathroom mirror.
I will absolutely do that. That's not a problem at all. I'm not gonna right now. No, obviously not right now, but later I will, and I'll tell you what happens after.
Are you familiar with the movie that I'm talking about?
You know, I wish you'd have told me this. I could have watched it. No, I probably wouldn't have. But I've heard of it. I heard it's pretty good.
Have you? I have
think
also
so.
have not seen it.
You know, it's considered one of those not just slasher childish movies. Actually, is you know a slight cut above some of the worst of bad horror movies of the 80s and 90s.
Well, it's supposedly based on a 1981 short story by Clive Barker. But what do you think happens when people say Candyman, 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 Candyman in a mirror?
Nothing good.
A supernatural scary guy comes out, has a hook for a hand,
ooh,
and he kills you.
I feel like you could say Gandhi, 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 and nothing bad is something bad would definitely happen. So it doesn't.
What is it about bathroom mirrors? Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary?
Yeah, because you know it messes with your vision. You can see things behind you that you don't realize are behind you because you're looking forward. That's my guess.
But then it could be any mirror.
Of course.
It's bathrooms.
Well, where else is there a mirror usually in most homes? Where is there guaranteed to be a mirror? The bathroom.
That's true.
That's not always, you can't say, go to your bedroom and look at the mirror on your ceiling. Wait, what kind of person do you think I am? So
I had a mirror atop my dresser in my bedroom. Mirrors over dressers have been a very common thing.
Is this a mirror podcast?
In history. No. But mirrors can be very spooky.
Mirrors are spooky.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Well, anyhow, do you remember when we visited Roosevelt Island in New York?
I do. We took a...
it's got a bit of a spooky vibe, I believe. What is that thing called?
What is that thing called?
Like a
the
gondola.
No, but like that.
Yeah, like a tram or
yeah. It really is amazing. That's why we did it. You do it for the view. Once you get to Roosevelt Island, it's actually incredibly boring. There's nothing to do, but...
It seems a little institutional.
It does.
A bit, I think, because there probably were like factories and stuff there back in the day. Anyhow, we're going to talk about a little, this one is a little bit more lighthearted take on the whole Candyman thing. This actual true story, because I have seen the videos. This is in March of 2020. It's a viral TikTok.
Wait, this is on Roosevelt Island? Okay, it'd be hilarious if it wasn't on Roosevelt Island. And you just said that as a quick aside.
Yeah.
You left it in the podcast. That would be phenomenal. Let's do that still, I feel like.
Her name is Samantha Hartsoe, and on our Instagram, I'll put a link. I don't think I can put a link, but
1920.
2020.
Oh, okay.
A viral TikTok video?
I thought somebody had made it, never mind.
Well, Samantha Hartsoe posted this video on TikTok, and she has an apartment in Roosevelt Island, and she posted a several-part series about a mystery in her apartment that started, it just was really cold. Her apartment was always cold.
Sounds like Ghost. You said the Whitman Ghost.
It does sound like Ghost. She couldn't figure it out. She'd turn on the heater, and her apartment was always cold. And then she noticed when she walked into her bathroom through the doorway, it was really cold in the bathroom. And then she noticed, in the door jamb of your the bathroom, there would be like a little hole in it where the lock engages. When she, put her hand there, she felt cold air blowing in
That's not good.
from the lock. And then this is in her TikTok video. She's standing there in the doorway and she has her hair pulled up, but she has like naturally curly hair. So she has these little hairs on the side of her head and you could see them blowing. And so there's a draft as she's just standing in the threshold of her bathroom in her New York apartment. So then she says,
her Rosette Island apartment.
It's New York.
Kidding.
And
I'm just sucking up to the Manhattanites and go, I'm sorry, that's not New York.
Well, then she puts her hand up to the light switch.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, yeah, I can feel cold air coming from there too. Just like the little cracks around it.
Yeah.
She said, but it's not enough. It's not a draft coming. It's not enough to blow my hair when I'm standing in the doorway. And then she puts her hand on the side of her medicine or her mirror. She didn't have a medicine cabinet. It's just a mirror.
A spooky mirror.
And that's where the big draft of air is coming from behind a mirror mounted on her bathroom, above her bathroom sink. So she's like, what the heck? So she takes the mirror down and it's not secured on there. She can just lift it up and take it off. There's a big hole.
That's not good.
In her bathroom wall behind her mirror.
So access to your apartment through your bathroom mirror.
And she doesn't know what the heck is
go?
Behind there. And you can see like electrical, wires, not wires, but like whatever the tubes are that the wires are in. Yeah, you can see some of those.
They're called tubes.
Conduit, maybe. I don't know. But you can see those. And so she can't readily just, hop through this thing because it's high and it's over her sink. So she, kind of like shines her phone in there with the camera on and you can see it's like a room. I mean, there is a
so it's not like
significant amount of space back there.
Crawl, not like a narrow, like hallish way. Not a hall. As always remember you watch Only Murders in the Building, and they start. I can't remember what season. They start going behind things. They start walking around.
Oh, that's right.
Freely. They walk around between apartments.
It's not like that. It's not like, there's a wall like a foot and a half past.
Or
no, it's like a
5 feet.
full-on room.
So room.
It looks
secret
like
chamber. That's even scarier.
If you go even like around a corner, there's a hallway inside there. So, hang on a second. Let me see. So then, so that's video one. Mm-hmm. Like I said, this is a several video series. I'm not going to go through all of them.
And then she's going to find, my God, she's going to find like a nest by some kind of a creature that lives there.
Well, in the next video, she has some friends come over. Okay. She has 2 friends come over. And she wants...
I would do that. I would have friends live over because that would be scary.
She basically wants them to be backup for her because she's going to climb through the hole.
I would have them I'd have them take point.
They're not going through.
No.
Only she's going through. So she's going to climb through the opening because she wants to see what's on the other side. So she puts it like a thing, like a beanie over her head. She's wearing sweats. And then she, I don't know if she used duct tape or headbands or whatever to put a flashlight on her head.
I like that. Homemade miner's hat.
Yep. And then, I don't know. Obviously she brought her phone with her so she could record what was over there. And then she grabs her weapon, a hammer. Okay. She's going to take a hammer with her just in case. And her friend tells her she's holding it the wrong way. She goes, I don't know. Is there a right way to use a hammer to kill somebody who's attacking you?
As long as you hold it by the handle. She wasn't holding it by the metal part.
So, so she climbs through there and you can go see the videos. It's an entire apartment. Jeez. I think they said it's like a 3-bedroom apartment.
They just covered up an apartment at some point.
Yeah. And clearly there's a water bottle that's like a contemporary, it's not an old water bottle. There's a water bottle. There's, like construction debris. It looked like it was in the process of being renovated or stuff. It was a mess. There weren't like plumbing fixtures and appliances or anything like that.
There weren't those in there?
There were not those things. It needed a lot of work. And
then, there were a door leading out to a hallway there?
Yes, and she had to walk down some stairs to get to a door.
That's a little weird.
And I don't think the door was locked.
What?
Yeah, which freaked her out.
Then you walk out.
She didn't open it. I would have opened it to see what was...
Yeah, is it a hallway? Or is it into another secret area? How big is... We've seen those apartments. They're not huge.
No.
There's about, I don't know, 7 or 8 mid-rise. They're pretty, 10, 11 stories.
Yeah.
Apartment. They're not like they're so wide they can have large secret rooms that go to another secret room or a secret hallway. I
No.
wouldn't think.
So she locked the door.
First of all, they're losing a lot of revenue.
I
This is
know.
rentable space in New York.
But so she locked that door from the inside. That made her feel better.
Mhm.
And she went back out and
Mhm.
crawled through. And then there's a saga with her contacting her building management to say, hey, first of all, I can't heat my apartment because of this. And also, it's a security issue.
Huge security issue.
And apparently, it was not abandoned, but an empty apartment that was supposedly undergoing construction. She said she had never heard any construction noise ever. And it was essentially open to her apartment.
How long had she lived there?
She had lived there for several months.
Okay. Because I guess it could have been, no, it's underground renovation, but for whatever reason, they hadn't worked on it for several months, maybe. That would explain how.
Sure, but her building management could not even explain that to her. It was like they were confused about what was going on with that unit. And so a lot of people on TikTok were saying, girl, don't tell your landlord, just
Rent
move
it.
in.
No, I'm moving out.
You double the size of your
Tell me
apartment.
about it.
So
Some throw pillows, some fixtures, some plumbing.
yes. Well, then apparently a cute man moved in, offered to help her carry her laundry to the laundry room. And then she found out it was him that moved in next door to her. And she moved
In
out.
the secret room.
Yeah. And it's not a secret room. It's a secret apartment. It was an entire apartment.
So would she ask him, how did you get this apartment?
No. But after, I'm assuming after she alerted the building management, they were confused about it. Oh, hey, that's $5,000 we're throwing down the tubes. So they must have finished the renovations and then rented it.
So it's wow. But still, that's scary that it has that easy access to her
Exactly.
bathroom, to her window.
Especially since that door through her mirror. But
What was on that side again? Just a room on the side when she walked through the window, the mirror originally. What
it was a room?
What kind of room? Like a bedroom?
You can't tell because it's not finished. Immediately outside of her mirror, it seemed small. It wasn't big.
Yeah.
But then as she walked through, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell what's what. But as you walk, you could see windows. You could see New York.
My guess is a closet. Maybe I'm just trying to think of what.
If it was a closet, it was a big closet.
Okay.
If it was a closet, it was a walk-in closet.
Okay.
But yeah,
Interesting.
I don't know. It was kind of hard to determine the layout from her little video, but extremely scary.
Yes, very scary.
And she was lucky.
Thankfully, nothing bad happened to her because I'm sure that's the story. That's going to be the end of any story you tell in this episode, I imagine.
No, it's not.
Oh, no.
So a lot of people also who were responding to her TikTok were making comparisons to the Candyman movie. And
So if the Candyman comes through a bathroom window? When you say Candyman.
Well, when you're at the mirror and you say Candyman, he just supernaturally appears.
So he's not like in front of you and coming through the mirror or something like that.
Correct.
He's just there somewhere. Okay. Like
But
Mary.
Like I said, the makers of Candyman say that it's based on Clive Barker's short story.
Mm-hmm. I imagine it is because I imagine they paid him a significant amount of money to get the rights for it. But is Clive Barker's short story from another source is what you're probably going to say.
No, because Clive Barker's story was written in 1981. What I'm going to tell you about occurred in 1987. So after that, but before the movie was made.
So maybe this actual incident you're going to tell us about was based on Clive Barker's story.
And
that doesn't make sense.
They say, the makers of the movies. Okay.
I'm trying to make a joke.
Oh, okay.
A real event isn't based on a short story, Carrie. Never mind. Carrie's very serious, and she doesn't.
So the film is set and filmed in Cabrini Green housing project in Chicago. You are familiar with that.
I've heard of it.
We have heard of it. It was very famous in the 80s as being
incredibly dangerous and
very dangerous,
gang-infested, controlled by gangs. And it's one of the things that was used to destroy the idea of public housing was Cabrini Green.
Yes, because it was semi-close to, I don't know what they call it, the Lake District or something, the Gold coast or something in Chicago, like very probably multi-million-dollar homes. It wasn't too far from them as opposed to some of the other Chicago housing projects, which are actually the ones that we're going to talk about in our story. And this is the story of Ruthie Mae McCoy. Ruthie was a 52-year-old Black woman who grew up on Chicago's South Side, and she lived in the housing projects there, not Cabrini Green, but not too far from there. There were a bunch of buildings. They housed like 3,600 people, and it was called ABLA, A-B-L-A, and it was an acronym for the different names of the buildings. Mm-hmm. And hers was, I think, Abbott. And she moved there in 1983. She had mental illness, and she had started, showing signs of mental illness in her early 20s. And she did not finish high school. And obviously she grew up very poor. And, she wasn't being treated as a young woman. She was just kind of left to her own devices. She couldn't keep a job for very long, because of some of her behaviors. She would talk to herself. She would curse at strangers walking down the street. And, she was kind of unpredictable. She wasn't, she never harmed anybody. She never hurt anybody or anything.
Sometimes words can hurt.
Well, she later would be diagnosed with something called residual type schizophrenia. And that's when someone who has experienced schizophrenic episodes in the past, but is not currently exhibiting symptoms. So she was diagnosed with this when she was in her early 50s, much later. So in her 20s, she was in a relationship and she had a daughter, and then she never got married, but her daughter's father left them. And so it kind of left a bad taste in her mouth for men. She did not like them anymore. And so she never had another relationship, and she had difficulties taking care of her daughter because of, her trouble keeping a job and stuff like that. So her daughter would often have to go be taken care of by relatives. But then they lived in like a basement apartment somewhere. It wasn't in these projects. It was somewhere else, and it was flooded. And so her daughter was grown, but she was taking care of her daughter's child when her apartment flooded. So she quickly had to apply for emergency housing through the Chicago Housing Authority. And that's how she got an apartment in the housing project. She specifically said, I'll go anywhere. I don't want to be in high rise.
So they put her in a high rise.
So they put her in one of the 15-story high rises. They're Y-shaped buildings, and they put her on the 11th floor. And I'm assuming she knew something about these buildings, and that's the reason why she did not want to live in one, because quite often the elevators didn't work, and the stairwells were dark and dirty and dangerous because of drug dealers and all kinds of criminal activity going on in the projects. Even the hallways were they were enclosed, so there wasn't any natural light going into them. So they were very dark, and because most of the time the light bulbs were burnt out, and each building was supposed to have 3 janitors. They only had 1, maybe. And they said they just didn't bother replacing the light bulbs because they'd get broken or stolen as soon as they put them in. So everything was it sounds very dark and depressing. And so a lot of people would just live there and stay in their apartments and not only go out if they absolutely had to. So in 1983, when she moved in, her daughter's name is Vernita, she moved in with her too. And she had the one child. And then while she lived with Ruthie, she had another baby, and her boyfriend, she was in a steady relationship, her boyfriend moved in too. That's 3 adults and 2 babies in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment. That wasn't great. It was probably difficult for Vernita. And also Ruthie didn't get along real well with Vernita's boyfriend, maybe because of her bias against men. I think she just assumed, he's going to leave you. He's not going to stay with you,
Probably.
So,
Some in, Carrie.
yeah. So they leave. They move out. They find another place to
Who's
live.
they?
The daughter,
and the
her boyfriend, and the two kids.
Okay.
So I think this is around 1985. And so now Ruthie is depressed and sad because she obviously loves her daughter and the grandchildren, and she was sad. She didn't like living alone, and she didn't want to live alone. She knew where she lived. She knew the dangers, and she knew that it really isn't safe for vulnerable people, even though she was a big woman. I mean, tall. She was very tall. She was 5'11". Well, it depends. Some source said 5'9", some source said 5'10", some said 5'11". Somewhere
there.
So I guess we'll split the difference, 5'10". And she was like around 250 pounds. Oh. So she was, a formidable person, but still, obviously, with her other issues and stuff, she probably wasn't very safe there. And it was also difficult being on the 11th floor. She's 52, but she had lived a hard life. And, it was hard for her to get up and down, especially when the elevators weren't working. So she repeatedly was asking the housing authority to find her an apartment on the ground floor. And every time she asked for it, she was denied. So then in 1987, things are starting to get better for her. Previously she would look like a bag lady. She just dressed in whatever. And like I said, she had behaviors where she would talk to herself and yell at people. And she kind of paranoid tendencies. And, she would have run-ins with people and stuff. But she was getting things together, and she had plans, and she was improving her life. And her goal was to leave the apartments and get out of the public housing, get her own place. And because of her inability to work, she was on public assistance, and she was getting like around $150 a month. This apartment costs $46 a month. Do you want to know how much that is in today's money?
I don't know, but that's about almost a third of her.
Yeah.
Which is normal.
It's about $131 in today's money. Could you imagine any rent being as low as $131? Well, she managed to apply for and get approved for SSI, Supplemental Security Income, and that's for people who are essentially disabled and can't work. So this was going to double her the monthly assistance she received. But not only did it do that, once you got approved, it paid you retroactively to the date that you applied for it. So she got almost $2,000, a check for almost $2,000, which was really nice. That would be about $5,700 today. A lot of money for somebody in her situation. And if people get a whiff of you having money,
I hope she didn't tell anybody.
It's not good. She didn't tell anybody. But she was leaving. She would leave her apartment every day in the morning and then come back. And when she would leave her apartment, she'd tell people she was going to school. And I'm sure people didn't believe her. She really was going to school. She was taking classes to get her GED, and she was pretty close to getting it. And she was also getting help for her mental health issues. She was attending group therapy and doing stuff like that. And so whatever organization she was going to for those kinds of things, that's what got her into the classes for her GED, and probably also they were helping her with the SSI application, all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, she was going to use that check to help her leave. And so, but before she was leaving, she used some of the money to buy a new winter coat, some new clothes, and a few really inexpensive household items. So it wasn't extravagant. It didn't look like she had come into a bunch of money, but people were paying attention. And so they did note, they probably saw her in the new coat because she used to dress like a bag lady. So all of a sudden, weird Ruthie has a new coat. And they probably also saw her bringing bags with stuff that clearly wasn't one bag of groceries or whatever. So that likely made her a target. And so people around her probably thought, oh, she's got money and it's stashed somewhere in her apartment. So on the evening of April 22nd, 1987, at 8:45, the Chicago Police Department received a 911 phone call from Ruthie, and the dispatcher was really confused by the stuff Ruthie was saying. She said, I'm a resident at 1440 West 13th Street, apartment 1109, and some people next door are totally tearing this down, you know. And the dispatcher said something, and then they want to break in. And she said they throwed the cabinet down. And the dispatcher asked from where. And then she said, I think she didn't understand. I think he was asking what cabinet are you talking about? But she said, I'm in the projects. I'm on the other side. You can reach my bathroom. They want to come through the bathroom. And then he asked her the address, and she gave him the address, and she made a point of saying the elevator's working. And then he said, apartment 1109. All right, what's your name? And she said, Ruth McCoy. And the dispatcher said, all right, I'll send the police to you.
6 hours later.
It wasn't that long, but she did say people threw the cabinet down and were coming in through the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I could see how that's confusing to a dispatcher, but I mean, we know what it meant now,
Yes.
but the dispatcher did send
Because you told us the story from TikTok. That's the only reason we know.
police, but the dispatcher didn't make her call a break-in. He didn't categorize it as a break-in.
Yeah.
He called it a disturbance with a neighbor instead of a robbery.
that's-
So that made it a lower priority for the police that got the call. So still, they got to her apartment within a half an hour. It was like 25 minutes after her initial call that they got there. But while they were on the way to her apartment, the Chicago Police Department received 2 more 911 calls, one at 9:02. So that's 17 minutes after she called. And then at 9:04 from neighbors saying the first one was a woman who was walking down the hallway and said she heard gunshots coming from that apartment. And then the other one was just a neighbor who said they heard gunshots and shouting. So after those calls, they sent even more officers. So there were like 3 or 4 cars of officers. And so when they got to her apartment, and they knocked on her door, nobody answered. And so, they knock, nobody answered. So they called the dispatcher back and asked him to call Ruthie's phone number. And so they did, and they could hear the phone inside the apartment ringing, but she never answered. And the police said they get a lot of hoax 911 calls from the projects. So they weren't even sure. Was this a real call or was this a hoax call?
Number this is clearly caused a break-in.
Sure. You also had reports of gunshots.
Yeah.
And shouting.
More cause to break in.
Exactly. But they didn't. They tried. Like I said, a couple different cars responded. So they sent officers from one of the other cars to go to the management office because it was like a block away, to go to the management office and try to get a key. So they brought a key back, and for some reason, nobody knows why, it wouldn't fit her door. So, and they said they don't have any more keys. That was the only key they had for that apartment. So you think that they would just break the door down.
Door in.
They didn't. They left.
Jesus.
They were there for like a half an hour. This whole process took about a half an hour, but they still left.
Most of it waiting.
So the next night, they got another call from another one of Ruthie's neighbors. And this neighbor told the police that Ruthie normally greets her in the morning when she leaves for school. And then when she comes back in the afternoon, she'll check in with her again. And she hadn't seen her at all since the previous day before. So she missed the morning check-in and the afternoon check-in. So the police respond. They send some more officers to her apartment. This time it's more like a wellness check,
I was going to
right?
say, this is now for sure a wellness check.
So they knock on the door and she doesn't answer. Somebody in the building says, oh yeah, Ruthie, she always answers her door. If she's home, she'll answer her door. So they call the management again, and they can't find another key. And so they do send up security officers, like CHA, Housing Authority security officers, like 5 security officers come, and there's probably a few police officers too. And so the police officers are saying, we're going to knock the door down. And the security officers are saying, well, we don't recommend that because if you do, the tenant can sue you. And we're like, the tenant called us.
Yeah.
And they said, and if everything's going to be broken. And if apartments are vacant or, they don't have an operational lock, people will come in immediately and steal stuff. They'll take everything. When people move out of apartments, people go in immediately. They either squat there or they use them for drug deals, and they take everything out that they can to sell for money. Fixtures and light bulbs and cabinets. They basically gut the apartments whenever anybody moves out. So, and the building said, or the security officer said, you guys will have to secure it because we can't. Really?
Yeah. Well.
You are called security.
Yeah.
But they basically said they wouldn't do it. Again, the police are the police.
Yeah.
They don't have to listen to the building security. They could break the door down if they wanted to.
Yeah.
They didn't. They just left again. So the neighbor who said that Ruthie checks in with her every morning when she leaves and every afternoon when she gets back, she wasn't going to let it go because she knew something was wrong. Because if Ruthie was going to be gone, she would have told her.
Given any remote accounting of these facts, it's very clear she's under arrest. She got a heart attack. They don't know.
Yeah.
Even if they don't associate it with the 911 call, which they do have a 911 call.
And they should have.
Yeah. This is pretty awful.
So this woman's name is Deborah Lastly. She contacts the management office again, and she had been she said she would contact the building management office all day. She would call the police, and, it would take her a whole day calling them back and trying to get people to come over. And so finally she got the management office to send a couple of people over, and they sent a carpenter with them with a drill. Mm-hmm. And so this carpenter drilled through the lock, and they finally got the door open, and they came upon poor Ruthie Mae. She was in her bedroom, and she had been shot multiple times, lying in a pool of blood. The room had been ransacked, and because it had been a few days, it was a bad scene. Decomposition had already started. She was shot 4 times, and the last shot was likely the one that severed her pulmonary artery, which would have caused her to bleed to death, essentially. They said even if they had gotten to her really quickly, she probably would not have survived. It probably would not have been survivable. So obviously they call the police. The police come and they look around everything at the apartment, and she does not have a medicine cabinet. Mm-hmm. There's no medicine cabinet on her bathroom wall, and it's just an empty hole.
Yeah.
And there is a medicine cabinet on the other side. And so they go into the apartment adjacent to hers. It's vacant. And the medicine cabinet on that side was just kind of tacked up there, but it was easily moved out. So apparently the medicine cabinets are just held up there with like 6 nails. And Ruthie's friends and family had the feeling that she was afraid of something in her apartment. She never specifically told them that she was afraid of people coming through her medicine cabinet, but she had told her brother that her medicine cabinet wasn't secure, so that it was kind of loose in the wall. So he didn't take it down. He didn't see what was behind it, but he kind of wedged pieces of wood in it so that it was more secure, so that it wasn't wobbly, because that's what he thought she was complaining about. Yeah. He didn't realize. He said if she had told him specifically what was wrong, he would have, tried to nail it in more securely. Yeah. But as it was, they were only held in with, like I said, 6 nails. So they were pretty flimsy. And other people, like her daughter, thought that she was just generally afraid of somebody breaking in through the front door, which is what most people are afraid of. her daughter, her neighbor, Deborah, the one that actually finally got the people to get into her apartment, her daughter, Mary, said that she was a child, but she would often go into Ruthie's apartment, and Ruthie often helped Deborah take care of her kids. She had 7 kids. And she said one time she was in Ruthie's apartment and she wouldn't let her use the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to use the bathroom. She didn't even want her to go in the bathroom. Instead, she had a bucket.
Ew.
So she was using a bucket. And Mary said that she had it like lined with a trash bag.
Oh my God.
So she said every day she would take the trash bag out and put it in the trash.
That's
because
disgusting.
she was afraid to use her bathroom. Other people said, afterwards there was an article written about this, and other people told the journalist writing the story that they were also afraid of people getting into their apartments through their medicine cabinets.
So there was general knowledge that this was an issue.
For about a year.
Wow.
So when they went to bed at night specifically, one family said they would tie a rope around the doorknob and then pull the bathroom door closed.
Mm.
And then they would tie the other end
So you
of the
can't
doorknob
share.
to her kids' bunk beds.
Oh.
And then they also would use a bucket. She said she'd put
That's
a
gross.
bucket of water if her kids had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So usually, because these are Chicago's public housing projects, when somebody gets murdered there, it's not a big story because it happens all the time. The crime rate there at this time was over double the rest of Chicago. So murders were a weekly occurrence there, especially when the woman is an older, mentally ill Black woman. But this case did make the papers, mostly just local papers at first. And then this one reporter found out the circumstances about the medicine cabinet. Her medicine cabinet has never been found.
So they took it with
It
them
was
then.
missing.
They took it.
Somebody
They
took
must
it,
have.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of weird.
It is weird. Why?
I don't know. So you think,
That the fact that the other medicine cabinet was closed implies that they went back out that way. They didn't go out her door. They went out the door of the vacant apartment on the other side. So, but why would they take her medicine cabinet? Did they check that vacant apartment and search it thoroughly?
I'm assuming they did because they
could have
did.
taken it through, through
Yeah.
that, and
I don't think you could.
you couldn't.
I would think the medicine cabinet is large. It would have to be larger than the hole.
Well, you could hold it side to side 90 degrees and bring
I
it
don't
in.
think so.
Of course you could. You flip it 90 degrees and pull it in lengthwise.
No.
Okay.
I don't think you could, Dean.
Okay.
Okay, so you wonder, why was this even a thing? Why was there space back there? It was about 2.5 feet back there in between, apartments.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's not every single apartment, but it's just the ones on the ends where they
match up.
where they match up. And so not only could people get in to the apartment behind them, behind their bathroom,
Any on that wall.
once you're in that space, it's called I'll get to it. It has a name, but
it's the space that they had on Only Murders in the Building. Honestly, it's what it sounds like. It's sort of a mini narrow hallway in between units on both sides as you walk through it.
But
accessible in this case. By
in
the
these,
medicine
it's
cabinet.
just at the bathroom. It's just at behind the bathroom. So you couldn't walk through the whole
short.
building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it has walls, internal walls.
There
and
must be. It must, but
or
so you could get to the apartment behind you. You could also go up and down.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah. So
That's not
you could
good.
go up one floor, down one floor. You couldn't go around the whole building, but so you could get to 3 or 4 different
Were there
apartments that way.
ladders in there to do that?
I don't know how you would do it. Maybe
Because
it's called.
it sounds like it's built for access.
Yes, exactly. It's called a pipe chase.
Pipe chase.
And it's for janitors and plumbers to get back there to work on leaky pipes without having to break through the actual
so that's
walls,
why it was
apartment
for-
walls. And once you're there, you can work on,
because that's where
more
the
than
plumbing
one.
pipes are going to be. Okay, next to
Yep.
the bathrooms. Okay.
exactly, plumbing and electrical. So I don't know specifically that the janitors were using it at that time. These buildings were built, I think, in the 40s and 50s.
Okay. So in this case, essentially, it was you get into the vacant apartment,
Mhm.
and then you open up their medicine cabinet, and you have this 2.5-foot space between to get to Ruth's, the back of
Yeah.
Ruth's cabinet, and you just pop that out.
Yep. And that's probably why
Because
the medicine cabinets weren't super well secured in there, so that a plumber or a janitor can just, yank out 6 nails, pull out one, get in there. So I don't think they had been used into the 80s for the purpose they were intended. Yes. But of course, criminals found out about them, and they had started using these spaces to their advantage. And there had been reports for like the last year before this happened to Ruthie, and her family said, her daughter says that she reported that to the building that her medicine cabinet had come out, and that people could get into her apartment through her medicine cabinet opening. And for some reason, they have no record of her reporting it.
Of course not. They quickly got rid of that report when she was murdered.
Yep. So about a year after
Cover up.
her murder, her daughter did file a lawsuit against the CHA. I don't know the outcome of that.
It's crazy this ever happened in the construction. It's pretty obvious that would create an obvious security risk, even in the 40s and 50s.
The interviews and articles that I've read about it said in the 40s and 50s, they just didn't think that people would do something like that. And these buildings they were specifically built as public housing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if they just thought that people would
They didn't care.
Yeah. I think they just didn't think about it.
Their construction was as cheap as they could possibly get. And probably also they bid, and they would overbid, and they'd probably build it even more cheaply than they bid. And
architects now would say that's absolutely bonkers. We would never build a building like that or design a building like that.
And then once it became, like I said, for a year this had been going on, there's no question the management knew about it.
And these buildings, like I said, they had one janitor even, and so they were not doing maintenance at all on these places. So I think this probably had a big was one of the big reasons why the housing was done away with. I think they were closed down in the early 2000s, like 2001 or something like that, and then they were
all closed on those.
And then they were all demolished.
What did you mention? Cabrini Green at the start? Why did you mention that?
Because that's like the most famous one of the public housings. There's a bunch of there's like 7 different buildings or something like that. I think Cabrini Green, they're not super high rises. I think they're a little bit lower.
Weren't those torn down?
I think so. Yeah.
Think so.
They're all gone. I think. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
I don't know where poor people, low income people are living there.
Homeless.
Yep. So some of her stuff was taken. So they figured the motive was, they figured she came into money somehow, and she would have it stashed in her apartment. And they probably specifically did want her to be there when they broke in, because they could scare her, threaten her into telling them where she was hiding her money, or even torture her into telling them where she had her money. And they did not find, there were like coins scattered around her body, coins and papers, her school papers, like math and stuff, but they didn't find any money. So probably they stole it, and they did steal some other.
She didn't have a bank account?
I doubt it.
$2,000. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, she hadn't had any money before that, and this is before the days of direct deposit and stuff like that. Yeah. A lot of.
Considering where you live, I would have.
I know, but you also know, considering where they live, a lot of people don't have access to.
For sure.
To banking and don't trust.
Yeah, I know.
Those institutions.
Is dated, I think.
Yeah.
Would have been a lot better to put in a bank than let it be known.
Yes.
Then the expectation is that it's at your house.
Yep. So they did find a few of the items that were stolen from her apartment. 2 men would be arrested and for burglary and murder, and they were tried, but they were both found not guilty.
Seriously?
Yeah. So it's technically not solved.
Well, I don't know the ins and outs of that case, but good Lord.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. And so
it certainly was someone living there.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I don't think that's. I'm sure they know that it was somebody living there, but
Yeah. I mean,
people don't talk.
I know. But God.
So, yeah. And I think even when the police went back and, talked to neighbors and stuff, neighbors who reported hearing gunshots and reported hearing voices, at that point, now that it's a police investigation, we don't know anything.
Yeah.
So nobody would say anything because if you did, you became a target.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the Candyman movie, the story was, it was patterned after the 1981 short story that was set in like Liverpool or something like that in England. But
is it called Candyman, the Clive Barker story?
No, it's called Forbidden or something like that. I'm not positive. But so when the guy that was going to make the movie, he was coming to the United States. I'm assuming with the intention of making the movie. I don't know if he knew he was going to set it in Chicago, but I'm assuming because he was coming to Chicago and he saw the story about Ruthie.
He's going to make the movie that actually would have been based on Clive Barker's short story. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And so he saw the story about Ruthie, and so
just completely rewrite. I need a rewrite stat.
Things got switched. It got switched
Good Lord.
to Chicago, which it must have already been changing it to Chicago, right?
It must have,
even though it was originally. So, so the one of the victims, instead of being Ruthie Mae, she's Ruthie Jean, and so they don't
it's the
credit.
Same story? Is Candyman?
They don't credit it. They don't credit that story. They still say it's based on Clive Barker short story.
They don't credit the Ruthie Mae story. They say it's based on the Clive Barker short story.
Yeah.
Do you know what the Clive Barker short story is about?
Like a former slave becomes like a artist, like a well-respected artist. And so he's kind of wealthy, especially for a former slave.
Chicago?
I guess. I don't know.
Well, it would have had to be in the United States at least. But
in the United States, probably not Chicago, because I don't know.
Could have been.
Former slave? I guess he could have moved. Yeah.
God, yeah.
So he is hired to paint a portrait of a white lady. They fall in love, and then he gets lynched or killed or something.
I'm blanking his name. Oh, God. He's a good actor. The star of Candyman.
Oh, I don't have any idea. I have no idea.
Killing me.
So it's like, and supposedly his hand was cut off, and they drenched it in honey, and then let bees come and sting him to death. I don't think that's the way honey and bees work, but
I'm going to assume it is.
So now this is the ghost of him seeking revenge, and that's why he has a hook. Even though they just cut off his hand and didn't put a hook on it. But now,
wait, did he die when the bees? Or did he let live?
I don't know. I just read a really quick little story of
Tony Todd.
Who?
Tony Todd plays Candyman.
Never heard of him.
You've seen him. Virginia Madsen is the star.
Yeah, I knew Virginia Madsen was in it. And then they did a second one, a new one in 2021.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And that one has a protagonist with the last name McCoy.
Oh. And the Candyman is just, in the movie, the Candyman is just sort of a local urban legend kind of a thing in Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a grad student is doing some research, and she ends up going to the apartment of Ruthie Jean and sees the medicine cabinet. So I think they think, I don't know, it makes sense that they think, oh, somebody came through her medicine cabinet and killed her. They probably thought it was a real life person, right? But it turned out it was the ghost Candyman.
A monster. Here's a quote.
I don't know why it's called Candyman.
Here's a quote from Wikipedia, because that was the story. You say Candyman.
I know, but
maybe
why?
because honey is
because of the
candy?
honey, I guess. I don't know.
Is honey to bees? No, it's actually not. So it says that where Barker's story revolved around the themes of the British class system in contemporary Liverpool, Rose chose to refit the story to Cabrini Green's public housing development in Chicago, instead of focus on the themes of race and social class.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the Forbidden was about, but it doesn't sound very close.
No, it doesn't, does it?
No, it does not.
So that is the tragic story of Ruthie Mae McCoy. The whole theme of people living in the walls is terrifying.
Yeah, it is horrifying.
And I have seen, it's a little bit creepypasta-ish, but every now and then you'll see kind of a legitimate story, or you'll hear a story that sounds very believable.
Yeah.
There was
the short story really is about the Candyman. It's an urban legend that kills people. So the movie does sound like it's based on The Forbidden.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is. It's clearly based on so it's not inaccurate. He reset everything to change it, and he kind of brought in elements of this story that you just told.
Oh, okay.
So
like the Candyman, like a legitimate person who sells candy?
No.
Oh. who becomes a murderer? I don't know.
Clive Barker's, the Clive Barker story about the legitimate candy salesman. No, it's like an urban drama. It's some really good characterization.
Who dies and then comes back and kills children.
I prefer to choose. You thought it was just, hi, I'm just a nice candy man who lives on the block. No, it's Candyman.
And the theme song is sung by...
he's a legend in Liverpool, though, not Chicago. So he just changed things a little bit. That's all.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you another real quick story that I read about in doing research about this. I think it's in Ohio. Where's the university in Ohio? Columbus?
Ohio State. There's many others.
I think it was in Columbus.
Could be Oberlin.
There's a house, like
Ohio University,
like probably an off-campus house where a bunch of kids live. They're like 10 students are living in this house, and
too many.
So, they probably don't know each other all that well. Everybody's got their own room or whatever. And so there's probably a lot of, like maybe 2 or 3, but there's lots of comings and goings and,
Does that person live here?
Maybe. Exactly. So one day, one of the guys, it was 3-story building. So the power went off to the 3rd story. So one guy goes down to the basement to check the circuit breaker. Something got tripped, probably because everybody had their hair dryers on at the same time or whatever.
That could happen.
And
that's the scary part, right?
No,
I'm sorry.
This is the scary part. He goes down there and he sees a guy down there, a man down there, and he goes, "Hey, do you live here?"
Bro, I think I do. What's your name? Seth. You know what? Checks out.
He goes, "Who are you? Do you live here?" And the guy goes, "I'm Jeremy." And then he just kind of mumbled and looked around and then left.
Oh my God.
And so the guy's like, people are going in and out of here all the time. I don't know who this guy is.
We named Jeremy now. That's cool.
Maybe he's somebody's friend. I don't know. What's he doing in the basement? I don't know. And he just didn't think about it.
Why did he have an axe? I don't know.
And then, but people would hear noises in the basement. I don't know. Did they think they had raccoons or whatever?
Raccoons
and
badgers.
But then at night, people, it was like you could hear people moving around and stuff, but you got
the basement.
9 roommates.
Yeah,
of course
true.
You hear people moving around.
Yeah.
And so then something happened, probably requiring maintenance, and somebody goes down into the basement, and the guy that went down there and saw Jeremy, he also went and noticed there was a door down in the basement, but it was locked. Had no idea what was back there. When you're renting a house, you might, and especially in that kind of situation, you might think, oh, it's the landlord has some stuff back there, whatever, tools or whatever. But so when they were coming down to really look around, they got into that locked door, and it was a full-on room.
Ooh.
There was a bed and there was stuff. It was clear that somebody had been living there.
Had a sign on the door saying Jeremy's room.
So it was Jeremy had been living there rent-free.
He was there for a party. He wandered down there looking for the bathroom and goes, "Hey, wait a second. I have an idea."
So at night, he would, creep upstairs and probably get food and stuff like that. And so they...
I get the Denver Spider-Man who lives in who has a secret way into your attic or something like that.
Yeah.
But this dude was ballsy. He's just flat out in the basement, in a room.
Yeah.
With a clear door to it. That's weird.
I wonder if he installed the lock. He must have, because if it's locked, he had to have a way of getting back in there. And so they called the police, and one guy in the house, the only guy named in the article I read, was really mad.
Mm-hmm.
And because the building management was not helpful, and they thought, you should have, you rented this house to us. You should have, made sure it was secure or whatever. They made it sound like the realty company knew all about Jeremy.
They did not.
But they did. They said they didn't.
Oh, really? They
yeah.
might have been.
So
he said he's living rent free, so they did not. If he really was living rent free.
Well, according to the tenants, he was living
Okay.
rent free because they didn't know anything about it. But so the
That would be
police,
hilarious if they rented it to him on the side. Not
I
telling
know.
the other people who are, oh my God.
but they reported it to the police, and the police looked into it, and they found Jeremy.
Yeah.
And they told the other tenants in the building that he was not a dangerous person.
So just let him live there.
He was just trying, trying to live
yes.
rent free.
But the movie version that I'm going to write would be called Jeremy's Room. And Jeremy would
Yeah.
one by one murder these kids who narked on him and had him evicted from a secret way to get back into Jeremy's room.
Yeah.
Okay, better story.
So I don't know if he was charged with anything, if he had any
Being a
legal
mooch.
consequences. But the guy, the civil engineering major, was really
what a
bent out of shape about the
dick.
whole thing. And of course, he was.
You've got 9 other roommates, bro.
No, I think he filed a lawsuit against the.
You owe us $90
Property
per
management
month. Going back how long? 6 months? Okay, bro. It's $540.
He was suing the management company, not Jeremy.
He's still pissed off at
I
Jeremy.
know.
He wants that $90 a month from Jeremy for sure.
That one was kind of silly.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Or silly. But scary. Still, what if Jeremy was a psycho?
Yeah. Well, apparently, for as long as Jeremy was there, he
So
hadn't harmed anybody.
In 2 of the 3 incidents, nothing happened. Interesting. Nothing bad happened.
But the civil
The TikTok
engineering
one was
major.
scary. The civil engineer sounds like just a bitch.
Yeah. He
But
was
this-
upset because 2 of the 10 roommates were women,
Mhm.
and most of the rooms did not have locks on them.
Okay, that's not why he was upset. He was pissed out because none of them would date him. That's why he was upset.
Probably.
Okay, he's an incel. So, thank you, Carrie, for those scary, spooky stories from the walls. I
Yeah.
don't know if that makes sense, but it's still.
Yeah.
It is terrifying to think of. I haven't lived in an apartment in a very long time. And I've never lived in a high rise
No. Yeah.
apartment ever. It's been garden style apartments when
Yeah.
we live in apartments. But that would be, access from
Yeah.
the walls if you think about it. Like again, to go back for the 4th time to Only Murders in the Building. Can you imagine though?
Yeah.
I'm sure some of those New York apartments do have
And that's, yes.
almost hallway like spaces
Yeah.
in between buildings. That
Yes.
has to be a huge.
And you would
security
think
sin these days.
for maintenance
Yeah.
purposes.
Yeah, of course. But
And even
God.
like if you live in a big city or a much older community where they have like big Victorian buildings that have been subdivided into apartments and stuff,
you just do that.
you wonder
It's
how
all common house
Yeah.
too. I've always wondered
Yeah.
about that because I've never lived in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Is how do you subdivide? I have the 2nd floor of a 4-story Victorian. How? How do you have the 2nd floor?
Yeah.
How do you go from the 1st to the 3rd without going through your space? It's hard for me to
Yeah.
imagine.
they have to create
Doors, walls, even
walls
maybe? I
and
don't know.
hallways and
Yeah,
stairways, and so
Yeah, I like it.
yeah.
I like it. I like modern construction, Carrie.
Yeah.
You know that.
So you don't know what happens. I like old.
I know you do.
I
And
would-
Old is spooky.
I would
by
love
definition.
to live in an old spooky house.
Yeah, I probably would too, but I wouldn't like any of the inconveniences.
Yeah.
The low ceilings, the drafts, the noises, the poor energy efficiency.
Well, things
Yeah.
can be updated.
Yeah, not as much as you think. So, thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome, Dean.
Until next time, see you guys.